Hey friends, welcome to the page. I'm Ken Smith and I'm really excited about today's video. This is an interview that I did at the 2023 Old Car Festival, and meeting with Dean, he had not one, not two, but three Model A displays there, all three of them really unique. You're really going to enjoy today's video, so let's just get at it.
Folks, I'm here with Dean, and Dean has a very unique Model A. Notice it only has one axle. And so Dean, tell me about this.
So what's so neat about this that I think special is this is a Model A engine that they made into a compressor.
Okay.
It's not a Model A engine running a compressor, it is the compressor.
It is the compressor.
So 1 and 4 fire,
Okay.
2 and 3 make air. So 1 and 4 fire, 2 and 3 make air. This particular one is what they call the factory built one.
Okay.
So Mr. Gordon, Smith motor compressor,
Okay.
but he went and he designed this engine, and I understand the head, and I understand that he designed it for a Chevy originally because there was a 6-cylinder.
Okay.
But as we all know, the Chevys didn't hold up as well.
Right.
So when it was time to start its production in the 30s, he switched it to a Ford because he could find them all over. So he'd go to a junkyard and he'd buy the chassis and he'd cut it off.
Okay.
Cut it off and use the whole unit.
Okay.
So everything is Ford original, pistons, everything's the same.
Gotcha.
Just the head changed.
So it looks like he either modified an existing head or just designed a head himself.
He totally designed a new
Okay.
head. It has the B model water pump on it.
Yep,
So
I see
that tells
that.
me it was in the 30s.
Yep.
That he probably did that.
Okay.
You could, in the factory one, you could get it with a brand new engine, or you could get a rebuilt one. That was your option.
Okay.
On this, like say, it's factory. I know it's a factory because it has a gear-driven governor,
Okay.
and it has all the bells and whistles for it.
Okay.
You could buy a kit also, which you would buy, and you take your engine.
Uh-huh.
You could buy the head, just make air,
Right.
or you could buy all the other items to go with it.
Okay.
The governor would have been belt-driven
Okay.
on a kit.
All right.
You can usually tell when they're built based on there's a tag on the tank.
Okay.
This one was actually put together. It's a 29 Ford, but probably put together in the early 40s.
Okay.
And I understand that they actually used that engine into the 60s
Okay.
to make an air compressor.
It seems to make sense because
Yeah.
they're still
They
running
kept
today.
on 'em. And
right?
they also took, and then at that point they took the, I think it was a 302 engine, and used 4 cylinders for compression and 4 cylinders for air.
Okay.
Commercially.
Okay.
So,
So how much air pressure does this?
well, this one, it's rated at a 60 CFM.
Okay.
So people like them for sandblasting and that type of thing.
Right.
If you did use it for sandblasting, you had to take like a copper tube and run it through a horse tank of water to cool it down.
Okay.
But it would do it. Now this, I've got this one set low. I have one in Colorado. I actually will take it up to 130 pounds of pressure.
Oh wow.
Probably not safe to do that all
Yeah.
the time. I got this one kicking out about 40, but
Okay.
most of them will run pretty comfortable around 100,
Yeah.
and it'll keep up pretty good. So what's really neat to me too is, and actually to run it, you're just like you're sitting in a Model A seat.
Okay.
They left all the controls, so you've still got your fuel gauge, your fuel tank.
Oh wow.
Your choke is in the same spot.
Okay.
You simply extended up your pedal for the starter.
Right.
And of course took the steering wheel away, but everything else is just like your starter.
Yeah, they didn't even cut the steering wheel.
No.
Uh,
The bracket's
clamp,
still
the bracket,
there.
yeah.
They simply used it to hold the button here.
oh wow.
And so it's
Really
that, to me,
ingenious.
is neat. They would have added this was extra
Okay.
on there, but the box would have came, and that's what they suggested to put your tools in.
Gotcha.
Short of that, they used them for jackhammers.
Okay.
They used it for sandblasting, painting. Whatever.
So you'd be able to power up a jackhammer
Yeah.
with just 60 pounds?
Yeah. Well, no, 60 CFM.
Oh,
but you
okay.
could keep it up towards 100.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so
All
they
right.
would run
Yeah.
They
Okay.
used them on Mount Rushmore for their small stuff.
Really?
They had a fleet of these.
Oh wow. That's fascinating.
So they did.
All right. So what's the red tank? Is that a fire
Well,
extinguisher?
Yep, that's on my added. That's actually a smudge pots.
Okay.
So they would take that on a job site, open it up, It had fuel oil in it, and
Oh,
you'd
wow.
light it, and you'd set it out so people could see it at night.
At night.
Yep.
That's ingenious.
Yeah, so that's pretty neat.
So when did you acquire this?
Probably 15 years ago.
Okay.
And
All
saw
right.
the one at the Ballet Museum that they had redone, and I had to have one.
And you had to have one, so you went on the search.
I have 3.
Okay, you have 3 because one wasn't enough.
Yeah.
All righty.
We
Okay.
kept going.
So moving on,
Yeah.
I see something that doesn't really have tires on it.
Yep.
Tell me about this.
Well, that is a 1929 Ford pickup
Okay.
with a Super Snowmobile attachment.
Okay.
And a fella developed them. He started in 1917, I think.
Uh-huh.
His customers, he had a Ford dealership.
Right.
And his customers needed something with more traction.
Sure.
So he started developing, and he came up with the steel chain.
Okay.
Now this one's a little heavier one. The early ones were for the T's.
Right.
And they were a little lighter, and they would have only had one idler axle
Okay.
on. So the engine, transmission, rear differential, all original Ford.
Okay.
There's a gear reduction that goes in place of the brakes back here.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, there's no brakes on it.
Yeah, why would you need that?
Yeah. So from there on, then was the kit that you
Okay.
put on. It was designed to. They advertised as taking it off in the summertime. My understanding, my belief is no one took them off because it's too much work.
Uh-huh.
But they designed the door, which we didn't have originally until my wife got too cold. Have instructions from the company that said you'd take a yardstick, lay it on top of the hinge, draw a line,
Okay.
take a hacksaw blade, wrap a rag around it, and cut it off. And then you got your 2 doors.
Oh my goodness.
So then in the summertime, when you took the track off, you'd ideally bolt this back together and you'd have your whole door.
Gotcha.
So at this point, right, it's half a door. So that it works quite well.
Okay.
The track, the front idler is how you adjust it.
Right.
The big turnbuckle, you can move it.
Okay.
We do have the Ford aftermarket heater on it. So
Okay.
to keep my wife's feet warm. All it
Alrighty.
does is fog up my window. So. This has an option which is really neat for modern times.
Okay.
Is the front wheel actually goes up and down, which lets you ski up and down.
Okay.
And I can go over here and show you a little bit. And that's nice when you get into a bare road. So there's a pin you pull, and then that'll flip around. I have a lever. They're fashioned off the bulletin, and then he goes in here. And then when my grandson's along, they grab it and you just pull it up, pulls the ski up.
Wow.
And then they can go the other way, she just locks up out of it.
Okay, so you can leave the skis on year round.
The skis stay on,
Yeah,
and that
they
was
don't come
something.
off.
Prior to that, they always just had skis, so if they
Uh-huh.
hit bare road, they didn't. They were in trouble.
Okay.
So when I come out of my camp in the UP, I have the skis down. I get
Uh-huh.
to the road. It may have snow covered and hard, but it won't steer.
Okay.
We get out, put the tire down, and away we go.
Gotcha. And then I noticed that the first 2 axles here, I guess, are just freewheeling.
They're just idlers.
Right.
Yep. They
okay.
just float.
All right. Cool.
And then this tire was developed. It is a ARPS Corporation. That's who made this.
Okay.
And it's ARPS Corporation. And someone took this tire, a new old stock, 2 Coker tire.
Okay.
They made 100 of them. I bought 4 of them. I use them. They actually built the tire to fit the track.
Okay.
The track was like this. They had made it with the opening so the snow would come through. That was the development. And then they came up with the drive tire.
So Coker, you said, made
Coker made the
replacement.
repops.
Okay.
Yep, replacement.
And then, so what about the tires on the other ones? Or just
These are on regular 19-inch,
Okay.
or 21-inch, I apologize,
Gotcha.
21-inch.
Yeah.
That's the difference. These are 21, which meets the truck. This is on a 19-inch rim, so I know it was made in the 30s. After that's what the 30s had, was 19-inch rims.
Okay. And then, so does the tread damage the idler tires at all?
No, they've got
Okay.
it. It's smooth here,
Okay.
so it runs in that, so there's no problem there whatsoever.
Gotcha.
They had a kit, or you could send this track back to the factory
Uh-huh.
when it got wore, and then they welded big cleats on here, and I saw some tracks like
Okay.
that to refurbish them. They had a program on that.
Okay.
So these were really popular until the mid-30s. In 1935, up until then, the United States Post Office said the mail had to go through, and that's who used most of these.
Okay.
1935, they said, nah, if it's bad weather, you don't have to go anymore. 1937, they quit making these.
Okay.
So doctors would have these, maybe a fuel delivery man would have them,
Yeah.
but big thing was the post office.
The big thing was the post office. And it kind of makes sense because
Yeah.
the
Like I
mail's
say,
got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And its brochure says it'll go through 30 inches of snow, and that's pretty much its limit.
Yeah.
It
Now,
goes
have you
through that.
actually driven it in the snow?
We drive it about 200 miles a year.
Okay.
We drive it at our home north of Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Okay.
And
You get a
we
little
have-
snow up there.
We get a little bit, but our camp in the UP, we get 5 or 6 feet.
Oh, yeah.
And then we take it every day.
Okay.
Every day.
Oh, that just sounds like a little bit of fun.
What's fun is to pull into the local pub, and there'll be millions of dollars worth of modern snowmobiles there. They all come out to see this.
Yeah.
I send the grandkids in, and I get a table.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that kind of amazing that people flock around and
Yes.
something old and not something new?
What always intrigues me is the little kids will note that is special, and they'll
Yeah.
come to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They know it.
So then, Dean, what about the delivery truck?
Well, that's my steak bed.
Okay.
That's a 1929. And this has the original, the motor matches the title, the
Okay.
serial number, it's all original.
Right. So for people that don't
Yeah.
know, you brought up a great point. The motor
Yep.
matches the title.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. The serial number, see what it looks like here, is stamped on the motor.
Right.
That is the serial number for the unit, right there. What?
And so it's stamped on the frame. It's not stamped on the body.
Yep, stamped on the frame. And this one, it's not there, but they also stamped the date it was made
Okay.
on these units on the
Okay.
firewall.
All right,
This
neat.
particular one doesn't have it,
Okay.
but my other ones do. So it is the day it was made. And this is a double A, so it's a heavy. It could have had a duals, but it only has a single axle.
Right.
What's a little bit unique about this one, it is factory, but it has an auxiliary transmission.
Okay. All right. Let's take a look at that.
So it has a standard 3-speed, just like the cars.
Okay.
But then the pedals on the floor engage the gear reduction.
Okay.
So it goes really slow. If you're in a field with a load of grain on, you can put it right down in low gear and barely move.
Okay. So kind of like the granny gear.
It's a granny gear.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So that makes this one nice for parades. But
Nice.
in the day, it
Yeah.
was very nice for that.
Sure.
So these, obviously, everything, the cab is identical to the pickup.
Okay.
But then everything's the same except you get into the axles. And then they would have put, this has a stake bed on it.
Right.
But I have one with a dump truck on it. They could have done all kinds of things back
Sure.
here. And most of them would buy them without anything on them, and then
Right.
they add it to it.
And then the other thing I noticed too that is unique to the AA versus a regular A, and that's the leaf spring.
They've got some heavy-duty springs
Yeah,
on that,
so-
and it's kind of hung different.
Right.
That axle hangs off of that spring to some degree.
Right.
But yeah, it's a heavy axle. This one has the worm gear, And
Okay.
that would have been standard. I have a 1930 that has a conventional. That's the worm gear. They're a little slower.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Well, Dean, how long have you had this truck?
Well, this one's pushing 20 years or more probably.
Okay, and
Got
then
some other ones.
and then the Model A Snowcat.
The Snowcat's probably about 12 years.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah.
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 So it sounds like you have fun with your vehicles.
I do. My
which is
wife
important.
calls them my mistresses. And she made the mistake of saying that to somebody at church. So I've been on the outs ever since.
Yeah, you've been on church discipline ever since, right?
But seriously, yeah, I do kind of enjoy them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Dean, thank you so much for sharing a few moments and just really going the extra mile and explaining a few things to me, to my viewers. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a great day.
You too.
Well, hey, this wraps up today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to give us a like and subscribe. Super important to us. But most of all, be blessed.